I'm not as aware of maybe what Buddhists believe or what people of the Hindu faith. So can we start maybe
Sure.
with the with
Yeah.
Buddhism?
Yeah. So Buddhism and Hinduism are actually, they're obviously not the same, but they're
They
actually
seem
fairly closely
yeah.
related. Both of them originate in the area that we would now call India or Nepal, right in that region. And Buddhism would say that the problem with the world is desire.
Hmm.
The reason that there's suffering in the world is because people desire things. They get attached to things. And then when they don't get what they want, what they're attached to, what they desire, that leads to suffering. So Buddhism says the way to resolve your suffering then is to not desire things, to live without that attachment or that desire. So it calls for a kind of balanced look at the world, recognizing that what we see won't last for long, and we won't even last for long. And so it encourages people to live a kind of reflective, in the moment, not borrowing trouble from tomorrow, kind of in the moment, take life as it comes, and try to live well. There's a whole series of ethical principles which would be familiar to all of us, like tell the truth, don't harm other people. Buddhism has some great principles that as a Seventh-day Adventist, are meaningful to me. Don't take intoxicants into your system. So there's like all the ethical principles that you would expect a decent religion would have. That's part of Buddhism. But with this idea that desire is something that you need to work to overcome that, so that frees you then from suffering. Then let's say I'm not attached to a sense of pride, right, of myself. Then if you disrespect me, like, so what? Because I don't need to be respected, right? I've released the need to be respected. If I'm not attached to personal appearance, then that's one of the reasons monks and nuns will often shave it's like, my appearance that's not what's going to make me happy or sad. I want to be above that. So in a very sort of haphazard sort of way, I've talked about something about Buddhism. Buddhism also has a concept of karma. I should have mentioned that. You receive everything that you do, you will experience the consequences of that. So when you do good, then good will ultimately come to you. And when you do evil, evil will come to you. So the concept of karma. Buddhism doesn't require the belief in gods or deities. Buddhism would say it's within you, like the knowledge that you need is within you.
Which is where like enlightenment comes from.
Yeah, it's the realization, that kind of realization of the truth that's not something I have to ask for from somewhere else. It's on me. The Buddha said you worked out your liberation yourself, and you didn't need help from anyone else. Now, in actual practice, wide variety of Buddhist beliefs around the world, and a lot of Buddhists believe in spirits and almost like deities that they'll ask for help. But original Buddhism did not require a belief.
So is there even an afterlife with Buddhism, or do they
Depends.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends. But yes, I think most Buddhists are hoping for something more. And Buddhism believes in the cycle of reincarnation also. So this is the karma, the consequence of my actions might not come to me in this life, but it might come to me in another life.
In another
right?
life. Okay.
So, and it's so like, I'm kind of just smiling here because there's so much more to it and so many nuances to it.
But those are the basics, right?
Yeah.
So this is basic knowledge for all of our viewers out there.
Sure.
So that's okay, because I know you have limited time right now. We'll definitely have to do a part 2 if you're willing to do that. So, well, Hinduism. You said they're kind of similar.
Yeah. Karma, concept of karma in Hinduism, but Hinduism does believe that there is, like, the general belief in Hinduism. And I should say this. I've said it several times, like the variety. Hinduism, maybe especially, it's really an umbrella term. Originally, it was just a geographic term referring to people that lived beyond the Indus River. And it was like a lazy way of saying miscellaneous.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like we know Muslims, we know Christians, and then the Hindus. It's like all the others that live over there. So within Hinduism, you have incredible diversity of belief. It's really a family of religions that sort of originated in the region that we now call India. But most Hindus believe in a kind of impersonal cosmic force or power that you can't see. It's not a being. It's not like a person. It's not a god exactly, but it's like this cosmic world soul.
So like Star Wars.
It is. I mean, there's the idea of the force, I guess, to some degree, and the gods that Hindus worship, and a lot of times people make a big deal out of Hinduism has all these different gods, and they do, but many Hindus that you will talk to will say, well, those deities, Shiva, Ganesh, Vishnu, Brahma, whatever, these deities are actually just like they're representative of aspects of this cosmic soul's sort of characteristics or being. So I've asked a Hindu, so are Hindus polytheists? They believe in many gods. And a Hindu man that I talked with, I was doing interviews, and he was like, oh yes, we believe in many gods. I asked another Hindu guy, he was a Hindu priest, a Brahmin priest, and he was like, he said there are many gods, but he said, but there's really only one. There's really only one God. But these other deities are just sort of manifestations of different aspects of that.
By God, you mean there's this one force that kind of goes through, connects through, and
wouldn't be a personal God per se, but this sort of impersonal cosmic force. And Hindus would believe that there's a little spark of that in each one of us. So the idea is that you try to live in such a way that you ultimately release that divine spark within you. I say spark, it's just a metaphor, that can somehow then be reunited, sort of merge into that cosmic force again. So many Hindus, not all, but many Hindus, like the ultimate goal is not a heaven somewhere where, there's lots of great food and all that. The real ultimate goal is to simply cease to exist, to no longer be born and reborn into a world where there's suffering. Oh. You just want to be free from that. So this, wow, that's moksha or liberation for the Hindu.